Hello, this is Steve. Thank you for joining me for another example on how to find the zeros of a quadratic by completing the square. So this time the instructions we're given are find the zeros. And we are given f of x equals 2x squared plus x minus 10. Now, since this equation isn't already set equal to 0, we can set it equal to 0, and it's the same thing as saying solve 2x squared plus x minus 10 equals 0. To complete the square, it is very, very important that the leading coefficient or the coefficient in front of x squared is just a 1. And you'll notice on this particular problem, we have a 2 right here. So before we can do anything else, we have to divide all three terms by 2. So we do 2x squared divided by 2 plus x divided by 2 minus 10 divided by 2. That will give us x squared, and it's actually be easier to write this as 1/2 x minus 5. Once again, do not ever try to complete the square until the number in front of x squared is just a 1. Now we will move the constant, the negative 5, over to the other side by adding 5 to both sides of the equation. Plus 5 plus 5. X squared plus 1/2 x equals 5. All right, now the tricky part. You identify the number in front of the x, not the x squared, but in front of the x. And we write it off to the side. So the number in front of x is 1/2. We divide that in half, or divide it by 2. And actually the easiest way to divide a fraction by 2 is just to double the denominator. So half of 1/2 is actually 1/4. You just double the denominator. Then you square that. You actually get 1/16. I know that seems frustrating and annoying, but that's what we're going to add to both sides of the equation to complete the square. So we get x squared plus 1/2 x plus 1/16, yikes, equals 5 plus 1/16. Okay, now, this is why the process is called completing the square, because the left-hand side can be factored as a perfect square. The x there, parentheses with the squared on it, and you just need to figure out what you put next to the x. Well, it's always the number you got after you cut the number in front of x in half. So in this case, it's going to be plus 1/4. That way there's no guesswork with the factoring. On this left-hand side, we have to do a little bit of work because we have to combine the 5 and the 1/16 into one term. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little scratch work off to the side. And we know that 5 is the same thing as 5/1. If we want a common denominator, then we have to multiply both the top and the bottom of that fraction by 16. So 5 times 16 is going to be 80, and 1 times 16 is going to be 16. So on the left side of the equation, what we really have is we have 80/16 plus 1/16, and we get 81/16. Don't worry, it will work out well in the end. Now, to get rid of the squared, we take the square root of both sides. X plus 1/4 squared, square rooted, and then a plus or minus on this right-hand side, 81/16. Now, we won't always be this lucky, but it turns out with the square root of that fraction, we know both the square root of the numerator and the square root of the denominator. So this left side is just going to be x plus 1/4, and over here we'll get plus or minus 9/4. Square root of 81 is 9, square root of 16 is 4. Then we subtract the 1/4 from both sides because our end game here is to solve for x. Sorry about that. So x equals negative 1/4 plus or minus 9/4, which means x is equal to negative 1/4 plus 9/4, which is 8/4 or 2, and x equals negative 1/4 minus 9/4, which is negative 10/4, or reduces to negative 5/2. So, what are the zeros of this quadratic? The zeros are x equals 2 and x equals negative 5/2. Thanks for watching.